Today we're going to talk about 10 unsung heroes of the WWE. These are guys and girls that are like, you see them, they're not getting a lot of airtime, but when they do, it's like, there's something about them that, you find entertaining, you find fascinating. Last year, 2024, you could have said maybe Chelsea Green and Bronson Reed would have fallen in that category, but by the year's end, they were stars. They were bona fide stars in the WWE. So who knows? Maybe someone on this list by the end will be, I don't know, 1 or 2 steps above where they are right now. First up on the list is going to be Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga is like a strange one maybe, because you're like, the dude's been in a lot of main events this year, and he really has. But let's be honest, he's only in the main event because of his bloodline, pun intended. But no, it's true. However, I think even without the NOI or the Tongan blood running through his vein, he could be a special character. I really, really enjoy Tama Tonga when he's let off the leash, because when he has to follow Solo Sikoa and Solo's going to do a promo, he's kind of this very stoic character. He's just in the background looking menacing. But when he's allowed to wrestle or speak, which is rare, he actually showcases a lot of personality, whether it says yeah, which is just weird. He's just weird. He's a very weird guy. He's like the weirdo in the family, and I love it. I love it. When he was at War Games, he was crawling around the ring, the cage like a spider monkey. It's like, what are you doing, dude? And then there was this match where it was the Usos and Sami Zayn, Sami Uso versus Solo, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. And there was this moment in the ring where Tama Tonga got on top of Sami Zayn and just started wailing on the guy. I was like, dude, calm down. This isn't even pay-per-view. Like, for real, he just started, I was like, does he owe you money? I think Tama Tonga has a lot to offer. He just needs to be let loose from his leash just a little. Keep an eye on the dude. Keep an eye on him. Next up is Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross, I literally thought he should have been fired like a year or 2 ago, and I just kept thinking, why is this guy being paid? Does he have some like pictures of Triple H or something? Why is Triple H still allowing this guy to be on the payroll? And then it happened. He went up to the New Day, and I was like, oh God, the New Day, they're about to have this like jobber faction with the New Day who haven't done anything in like years, and they're about to have a feud. They're about to have a program together, and I thought it was about to be the lamest thing ever. And then that was the beginning, the genesis of the New Day turning heel, which is one of the best stories of 2024. And then it also began this weird little storylines with Karrion Kross where he just tries to sow seeds of dissension among friends and family, and it worked. It worked. I like Karrion Kross now. I'm still like, I'm not saying he's like the greatest or anything, but he's definitely like the final boss of the lower mid card, which was kind of funny. And maybe he can bump up. He's even beaten the Wyatt Six, and I'm like, wow, Karrion Kross. And he's funny too. Like, he has a lot of, like, little vignettes or little promos that he does online, like, exclusive, like, on his Twitter or on WWE.com and on WWE socials, and it's canon to WWE even. Like, when The Miz got kidnapped, Scarlett came up to him and was like, oh my God, the Miz is kidnapped, we should do something, and by the Wyatt Six, and Karrion Kross was like, well, he was reading a paper, this is me reading a paper, how long ago was he kidnapped? And Scarlett was like, I don't know, like 20-30 minutes ago, and Karrion was just like, well, probably too late then. And then he just kept reading his paper. Like, he got the Miz into the mess, and like, oh well, he couldn't be bothered to, like, who even reads the paper anymore? But he couldn't be bothered to put it down to save somebody that he had just manipulated into turning on his friend R-Truth. I don't know, Karrion Kross, like, I see the potential, okay? I see the potential. Feel free to burn the pictures you have Triple H, because you're actually a good character now, and I think you can stay on the payroll without the blackmail. Speaking of unsung heroes, I will never be able to sing your praises enough for all the support that you have given me, from the comments below to the subscriptions and then hitting the bells and even the likes. I appreciate it all. I don't care if the only reason you're doing it is to get the belt, or if you actually like the content, or a combination of the two. All I care about is that I get that comment, that like, that subscribe, and the bell notification. It helps me get closer to my goal goal of quitting my day job and become a full-time YouTuber, and it helps you get closer to your goal of winning this belt. That's right, you can win this belt and help me quit my day job all at the same time. If you didn't key in on how to do it, well, let me just spell it out for you. I'm not going to spell it out for you. I'll just say it for you. You got to comment. You got to subscribe. You got to hit the bell. That's a bell. That's a bell. And you got to like. You got to like the video. And then I'll sing your praises. I will sing your praises for liking the video. Please don't let me ever do that again. Anyways, let's get to our next hidden gem. So I already said that Chelsea Green kind of has bumped up and stepped out of this like hidden gem category, but I still think Piper Niven is in it now. I don't think maybe last year Piper Niven was like whatever, but now that Chelsea Green is getting more spotlight and more shine and more airtime, it's really allowing Piper Niven to come out as well. There was this moment that made me really appreciate Piper Niven in that it was Chelsea Green. She had won the US title and she was having a ceremony. She was dressed as the Statue of Liberty and she was like, I just want to thank the person who has stood by me, couldn't do it without him. She walks over to Piper Niven. We all think she's going to say Piper Niven, but then she says, I thank myself. I couldn't do it without me. And that's like, oh, Chelsea. But the thing is, Piper Niven did that too. She was like, oh, Chelsea. It's like Piper Niven's not jealous. Usually in a situation like this, the stooge, the right-hand man or right-hand woman, they want that appreciation, and when they don't get it, they kind of feel like sorry for themselves, and then the crowd gains sympathy for them. But Piper Niven didn't. She kind of did this. She kind of just rolled her eyes at her best friend, thinking to herself, like, oh, that Chelsea, I should have known. She got me. Like, she appreciates Chelsea for being Chelsea. She knows Chelsea's selfish and egotistical and oblivious to everything, and yet she still likes her for it. And I really thought that was a different kind of reaction than stereotypical in the past that would have happened. And yeah, so I'm just liking Chelsea. And then they had a lot of good matches throughout the year as well, where they play off each other, where Piper Niven accidentally always like lands on Chelsea Green, and they are a really good combo. And I think Piper Niven adds a lot to the Chelsea Green equation. And when Piper Niven goes on her own, keep an eye out for her. Watch how she reacts to Chelsea Green throughout their promos, because everyone's going to focus on Chelsea, but just pay a little bit of attention to Piper. I'm going to put Carmelo Hayes in here, even though he is kind of sort of already in the mid card. Okay, he's a higher mid card guy, but I feel like he's the most underrated of the higher mid card / main event talent guys. He's not main event, I will say that, but he's definitely like mid card and could be going for a title, and yet I think he's often overlooked. I'm afraid he's going to be put in the Dolph Ziggler category, in that he's an excellent wrestler, he's good on the mic, and he can sell like crazy, and they're just going to be like, oh, he's young, he can eat the loss and recover. Oh, he's young, he can eat the loss and recover. Well, Dolph Ziggler ate so many losses that eventually you just can't recover. Okay, eventually it's done. and I don't want that to happen to Carmelo Hayes, because I like his backstage segments. I like when he's in a match. I like the way he just is so egotistical. He's him. It was hilarious when there was like a couple weeks where people would just walk backstage and he would just like kind of say something like a snide remark to them, and then they would get mad at him and it would just cause them to get into a fight. So Carmelo Hayes, he's not really a hidden gem, but I do think he's an unsung hero in the upper mid card, in that he has so much personality and a lot of people are benefiting from wrestling him and pinning him, and I want that to stop. I just want him to be the one pinning the other guy. Originally, I was just going to put Tommaso Ciampa on this list because I'm really liking how Tommaso Ciampa is just so in love with the tag team belts. He like really hugs it and he just doesn't want to let it go. And I appreciate that a tag team, they care about the belts that much, because when you see someone just like this is mine, this is my most prized possession, it elevates the title. And Tommaso Ciampa, he was doing a lot of just like, he was being mean, he was being vicious, he got Johnny Gargano to turn heel on the Motor City Machine Guns. It just, everything he said, he's like, are you a loser? Are you a loser? And he's kind of funny when he says stuff, but he's still intense. And Johnny's like, no, I'm not a loser. Yeah, you're not a loser. Let's not be losers together. And I just really liked it. But I'm actually now putting Johnny Gargano on the list with them and just making it a DIY combo. I was not impressed with DIY. I know they have a huge following from their NXT days. I'm sure they're great. I know they had a feud, blah, 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 blah. They are awesome in NXT. However, what have you done for me lately? And honestly, I haven't been really impressed until this second title run. And I'm really liking Johnny Gargano as well, kind of being like a little brother that mouths off at everybody and kind of expects Tommaso to protect him. And then Tommaso Ciampa, just like he just wants to be with his belt. I'm liking their dynamic, and I'm just like, okay, cool. A tag team with a personality. So, yes, definitely liking them. While we're on the subject of tag teams, I would say the Street Profits could be on here, but I don't think they're a hidden gem. I think they are bad booking. They are not a hidden gem. Everybody knows that the Street Profits are awesome, but they have been just booked very poorly, and I hope that changes. So officially, they're not on this list. They're on a different list. Let's go Finn Balor next. Finn Balor, wasn't he a Universal Champion the first, actually? And yet somehow he's a hidden gem in the WWE. This dude is falling so far down the card. But I'm going to tell you something. I hate that he's still feuding with Damian Priest, but there is something that has come out of it. If you go back to all these like promos since he kicked out Damian Priest, he's always talking about Damian Priest. He's like, what is Damian Priest doing? We got to make sure that Damian Priest doesn't become world champion. And nobody cares. Nobody cares except for Finn Balor. And I just find it really humorous that even Damian Priest has moved on and Finn Balor's just like, man, I gotta stop that dude somehow. And then he'll be like, if you listen to Finn, you win, and they lose. It's just like, I don't know if this is the direction that I want him to go down to reclaim his past glory, but I am entertained by this Finn who I don't even know. What is he, delusional? Whatever he is, he says some funny stuff right now. And please don't confuse me saying that I mean this to be a continuation of his feud with Damian Priest. No, I hope they're done, but I kind of hope that Finn still kind of like keeps an eye on Damian Priest's progress, and maybe they can feud again in a year or two. But I just really like that Finn Balor is still a little hung up on Damian Priest, and it's just funny. I like his interactions. I like that he thinks he's so good when he's really not. And I don't know. I guess that kind of goes against everything that I want for the guy because I want him to be better, but even given this crappy situation, he's still entertaining, and that's a hidden gem then, if you think about it. You know, given a crappy situation, still entertained, well, that just means we should give him a good situation and see how entertaining he can be then. Oba Femi's next. He's a big deal in NXT, but because he's not come to the main roster yet, well, then nobody knows him. You know, until he's on the main roster, he's a hidden gem, and I just cannot wait. I cannot wait for you people to see this guy in action. He has just everything. He has everything. He doesn't have the hangups of somebody who grew up wanting to be a wrestler, someone who thinks they know what wrestling's all about. No, this guy was like untapped. He was not trying to be a wrestler, and yet he found his way to the Performance Center. He found his way to NXT. He found his way climbing up the card, the longest reigning North American champion on the NXT. Right now, he's currently in a feud with Trick Williams for the title, but when I tell you that this dude is coming up with certain creative things, I saw him one time, I don't even know. He just threw a guy in the air, and then it just like, he landed on his like knee. I was just like, what is he doing? He one time just like threw somebody and they just spun around so many times. It was like, this dude's insane. He's huge and he's good on the mic too, and he has this really thick accent, so it makes him stand apart. He's the total package. He is the total package. I would love for him to main event WrestleMania one day against someone like Braun Breaker. Jeez, those two would just like worlds collide right there. I love Oba Femi, and I cannot wait for you guys and girls to see him. Do yourself a favor, YouTube him. You don't have to go watching NXT if you don't have time. I understand that, but YouTube Oba Femi, and I'm gonna tell you something, like, the dude's gold. The dude is money. Next up is Zelina Vega. I don't know why they don't do more with her. She can talk. She can talk. I know she's on the shorter side of the women's division, but, like, does it really matter? She could be their Rey Mysterio, and yet they team her up with Rey Mysterio, but they don't do nothing with her. They don't even let her be really the mouthpiece when she was Andrade's mouthpiece in NXT. She brought him all the way to the top. Why are we not doing stuff with her? They gave her the Queen's Crown. Like, what a dumb name that was. Named it Queen of the Ring. The first Queen of the Ring was the Queen's Crown. Whatever. That aside, she was the first queen, and then, like Xavier Woods, they did nothing with her. So I'm hoping, like Xavier Woods, that after this long tenure of just absolutely nothing, they give her a real good storyline that she can sink her teeth into this year. I really feel that she is amazing. I wouldn't mind her going back with Andrade, but you know what? Penta's about to debut. What if we threw her with Penta and then Phoenix when he came? Just do something with her. I get it. The women's division, if it's too stacked right now and you don't really want to put her in it, then give her an actual meaningful role, because I don't know how many more times I gotta say it, but she can talk. So let her speak. Okay, so next up, hear me out, is a controversial one. Pretty Deadly. For real, Pretty Deadly is so funny, and it's crazy that they're the centerpiece. They are the epicenter of the resurgence of the males tag team division on SmackDown. They're right in the middle of all the stories. They lied to the Street Profits about who jumped them. DIY want to keep them their friends because, well, they know they they lied to help DIY. Plus, if DIY has to defend the titles, they'd rather defend it against Pretty Deadly because they know they can beat them. And then you got the Motor City Machine Guns over here saying, wait a second, what's going on? And then Pretty Deadly lied about who attacked the Street Profits, so El Gato del Fantasma is mad about that. We are literally having multiple feuds around the tag team titles, and it's all because of Pretty Deadly, and they're just like living life. They're living their best life, going all just ham. They're hilarious, and I love when they're like Sammy Uso, actually, in the Bloodline. Hear me out. Sammy Uso is this comedic character that brought out elements from serious characters. He was able to bring out their personality, and that's what Pretty Deadly is doing, bringing out the personality, because they're so absurdly over the top that everybody else has to, like, it brings out their characters as well. And yeah, I'm just loving it. The fact that Pretty Deadly doesn't take themselves so serious, they know where they are, their placement on the card, and it's like low-key, they're kind of like Chelsea Green even. They're like the tag team version of Chelsea Green, and look where she got. Maybe Pretty Deadly can get like a 2-week title reign or something later in the year. That would just be so funny. I want to see this musical too. I want to see them perform this musical. I hope it's so bad. I hope it's so bad that it's good. There was another team like this a long time ago, the Fashion Police. They were a comedy act, and yet they got really over and they made it work. Go look at the comedy sketches of the Fashion Police. The Fashion Police, oh geez, so good. And I think Pretty Deadly can really, really use that as a template to raise their stock in WWE. And yeah, 3-hour SmackDown is going to really benefit people like Pretty Deadly, who definitely wouldn't have got a lot of airtime, but now benefiting and getting the airtime they need to just showcase their personality. Love Pretty Deadly. And the final person on this list, unsung hero gem, is Ludwig Kaiser. Now, Ludwig Kaiser, he's very, very close to breaking out, but I just need him to completely punch through. He's had some really good matches on PLEs, even with Braun Breaker and Sheamus. He shows that he's got it. but he's still not fully there. And they just allowed him to kind of step out of Gunther's shadow. And, I hate what they're doing with Gunther, but I love what they're doing with Ludwig. And he's going in that direction, but I still think people don't think about him. I want people to think about him. He's kind of in the placement that Bronson Reed was at this point last year, in the beginning of the year, where it's like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, when he shows up, I'm entertained, but then I forget about him instantly. Well, no one's going to forget about Bronson Reed when he returns, and I want Ludwig to make sure that nobody forgets about him, because he just got his intro back. I love that intro. It's so obnoxious. Ladies and gentlemen, and the way when he comes out from the back, he like spins around and he walks just like such a snob. His face is so punchable. I don't know of a more punchable face than Ludwig Kaiser. Who would be? Maybe The Miz? Maybe The Miz, but no, I'd be like, Miz, could you please punch Ludwig in the face? Ludwig is everything a villain should be, and I hope they just keep going with it. I hope they give him some victories. I hope he just builds and builds and builds. And if we gotta do a horrible decision and make Gunther a face, then let Ludwig destroy him, because oh man, he is like, I just see him in like a turtleneck. It's like a turtleneck, and that face of his. You want your champions to fight this guy. You want your baby faces to fight this guy, because you just want this guy to just be in pain because of how he looks, how he just looks at you. That's how good he is, and we got to capitalize on that. Ludwig Kaiser is amazing. He's amazing, and I really, really hope that this is his year where he steps out of the shadow completely of Gunther and makes a name for himself. And I'll do a bonus one for the last one. So either Ludwig's the last one or this one's the last one. I'll be quick about it, because Dominic Mysterio, I don't think he's an unsung hero anymore. I think people have finally gotten on board the Dom train, but maybe that's just the internet. So if it's just the internet, I'm hoping that everybody starts seeing it soon. That Dominic is he's so much better than we have given him credit for. He might have been a nepotism hire. You're the son of Rey Mysterio, fine, we'll hire you. But I'll tell you what, he's made the most of it, and he is a solid character now. So I'm really, really hoping that he can break out of Judgment Day, even get away from Liv Morgan, and go on his own, and let's see what he can do. I want to see this. I want to see Dom, and I don't want him to be a good guy, but I think that's the way we have to go for a while. But let's get him back to be a bad guy as soon as possible, because whatever he's doing, I want him to keep doing it. It's working, and he's getting more and more fans, and I would love to see him in a TV program for the title. I don't think he should win it, but it would be really interesting to see a 2 or 3 week program with someone for a world championship. I would love that. Maybe even CM Punk when CM Punk wins it. That would be great. That would be great. Dominic Mysterio, low-key, but just making moves and climbing and fine-tuning his character. He's ready to just break out. And those are your unsung heroes, your untapped potential, your hidden gems of WWE right this second start of 2025. Maybe we can, at the end of the year, if I remember, I'll come back to this list and we'll see who has risen and who has fallen. Guys, girls, tell me below what your heroes are, your unsung heroes, your low-key favorites right now, and have a great day.